art show, I was also co-director, co-editor, co-shooter of the documentary, and part of the Pixel Drip staff.
Hi.
And I've been clean for 3 weeks.
Hey, I'm Annie. I came on as a production assistant for a while and I shot a lot of the B-roll on it. I'm not an artist, but yeah, I love shooting this. It was so much fun.
She drives me around.
Yeah, I'm her chauffeur.
She's my favorite person.
To your facials?
Sorry?
She drives you around to your facials.
Sorry, we're having a linguistic barrier.
Okay. We'll talk about it after.
Yeah, explain to me. Teach me English, please.
I'm Jay. I kind of ended up gathering all these people together, and then they all had cool ideas, and this happened.
Jay's our art dad.
I'm Mark. I'm the one that organized the 6 seasons of the movie art show, and hope all you guys enjoyed the documentary of it, even if weren't in attendance.
I'm Brittany. I came on, I was a Kickstarter backer. I saw that we were doing the documentary. I was like, I want to help. So I contacted Mark and came on as an intern.
I'm Annie. I co-made the documentary with Evan, and for the art show, I made the puppy wagons for the puppy parade.
My name's Julieta, and I'm from Mexico. That's what I do.
She's also an amazing artist.
I draw a lot of fan art, and I tweet it all the time at the cast, and I want people to validate me and love me. So.
Joe McHale has a restraining order against you.
Not yet. We like to joke about it. It's like, hey, Joel, how's the restraining order thing coming? It's fine. And can I just say that every time I watch the documentary, I cry, and I'm really glad to see I wasn't the only one ruining her makeup. So thanks for crying with me.
You're welcome.
So we were, like I was saying, like I've never really seen it with an audience, and we have a film studies background. We went to Santa Barbara together.
Yeah, a lot of us did. Jay, Mark, Annie, and myself all went to UCSB Film School.
Yeah. But we picked up this whole idea of doing art and doing film. So a lot of our film background and knowledge of editing and stuff like that was really helpful. But we would constantly, we'd often go see our own short films of each other from school, and we actually worked on a project together. But we would screen them for our entire class, and having an audience there, it's really important as a filmmaker. So it was really
And as an art curator.
Yeah, and as an art curator. So they're kind of the same thing. But it was awesome to see the energy, and it like keeps the movie alive for me, and I'm very proud of you guys. Awesome.
Thanks, Godfather.
Very good.
So I thought that we would do a little, we started at 11:30, so I assume we have until 12:30, yeah? I'll just assume that. Yes, I have a game plan. I got some ideas of things we can go through. I wanted to have us talk a little bit about each of our individual, maybe not individually, but as teams and what we had to do with it. Give you a little bit more background for. We'll do that for roughly 15 minutes, 5 minutes for each team, and then we can get into some audience questions if you have any about the documentary or the art show. So Jay and Mark, I wanted to know, we didn't really cover it in the documentary. How did the art show, or how did Pixel Drip get started? What was the origin story?
It started as doing live artwork at Street Fighter video game tournaments in somebody's garage. So this guy brought all his buddies over, and they're like, hey, we're putting these events and all these people are coming, can you make flyers for us? And I'm like, all right, cool, because I'm just kind of this graphic design artist background, and everybody that knows me asked me to do stuff for them, so I was like, all right, do our flyers. I'm like, okay, so can I come to this event and can I do some live painting there? And I'm like, sure, why not? So we go to this event, and there's like tons of kids there, and everybody's just playing these games, and I'm just painting like Street Fighter characters, and people are coming up and buying them from me. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And then I invited my other friend, Simone Estrada, and he came along.
Also a Pixel Drip guy.
Yeah, and he started just selling like shit ton of paintings like right there, and just like, what is going on? So like before we knew it, we kind of had like a gallery going on like in this video game event. So we want to do video game galleries at these events. So that's kind of where we started Pixel Drip, was like paintings and video games together. But people that play video games don't really buy art like these days.
Yeah.
They
rather
buy games.
Yeah, they want to spend the money on games.
They buy
They're
downloadable
expensive.
content.
Yeah, they're really expensive these days.
So we were just like, okay, well, this is kind of, you know, cooling down. What else is there? And Mark and I, we'd gone to school together, and he was in on the whole gaming scene too. And he just said, hey, community. And I'm like, what? Why?
And yeah, from there, take it away, Mark. Why community indeed? What was the, I mean, we covered it a little bit in the documentary, but could you go a little bit more in depth about that, what you saw going on in the fan art community and stuff?
Yeah, like another thing going on right around the time when we started planning it was that we were trying to figure out which direction Pixel Drip should be going in, and we knew for sure that we enjoyed the art scene, but whenever you go to like an art gallery, you just check out the artwork and you bounce. So it's like, why don't we make like a more convention interactive event so people
we're
can just
used to
hang
like
out.
CommuniCons and stuff like that. And
We like
cosplay,
artists, you know.
And people don't do that at art shows. I'm like, man, what if people could cosplay at an art show? That would be awesome.
There are faux nerds at art galleries, but there are real nerds at cons. So we wanted to bring that a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
And community, yeah. Why that?
Oh, well, yeah, like it said in the documentary, it just so happened that the hiatus came on, and that's when everyone was just like really like emotional about it. And you know, like some people like Catherine and Jillian, like they were like doing full-on campaigns to save it, and it's like, well, what can we do? Like they're like way more organized than us. Like all we know is art, so let's just put on an art show, and that's how that started.
Yeah, it was kind of a nice merging here, actually. We formed a community.
Yeah. And what did you find special about the community fan artists as you were reaching out to them through that process of getting people together?
Yeah, there were like a lot of firsts for our group with this. Like, you know, usually we've been focusing on local artists, and for community, we were like, screw it, let's contact every single person on the internet. And
oh my god.
and like I said, like originally we were like, well, if we, you know, contact like 200 people, like at least you gotta think 50 of them will like confirm. And all like 200 people said, yeah, let's be in the show. And we're like, well shit. How do we fit 200 people into a building? Then you know, we had to go searching for the
life
perfect
finds a way. Yeah. Well, the whole artist, like pulling artists in, was kind of weird because I'm used to traditional art, and as an art collector too, I'm just like, you go to Comic Cons and the prints there are like, and I don't mean to knock anybody really, but the paper quality I'm kind of a snob about. Like I like, if it's gonna be a digital print, like put it on some like nice paper, like some velvet or something. So I was like,
Something nice.
we gotta do it like that. So the artists that we commissioned, or not commissioned, new artists that jumped aboard, if they had digital stuff, like we say, all right, well it needs to be printed like this, or we can print it for you like this. But other people just already had a whole bunch of stuff that they just sent us a stack of, and we're like, okay, that's fine. But so there was a lot of cool, like, for people to actually have it their first time being in a gallery and having a first time being a print. That was really cool. I really loved being part of that. There was like no kind of, I don't know, pompousness, or, you know, nobody was too cool for school, you know.
Yeah, and you have to consider it, like we were all strangers to these people. It's like we've never met Annie or Brittany or Julietta like before this event, and like, you know.
But they were all community fans.
Well, actually, yeah, we did.
We met at Bailey Fest.
That's right.
I remember you were wearing a red shirt.
I'd like to note too that while Mark was doing this, he was kind of infiltrating every Harmontown that was going on. He was kind of like just going everywhere, stalking Dan Harmon and trying to get news from them and be like, hey, is this okay? Can we do this? I want your blessing, you know? And I mean, luckily he totally did, as you can tell. He was always super cool about that. Annie, Mark contacted you about making the movie kind of early on process, and then
Wait, you want a movie too?
yeah. How was that presented to you, and why was that the idea?
The documentary actually originally started as sort of a Kickstarter prize for people who donated to us. Like, I think if you donated $20, you were going to get a copy of the documentary. And it originally started like, okay, we'll just film the show and we'll do sort of a nice little recap of like the artists, and we'll get sort of on-site interviews. And then the more like we saw the artwork and the more artists that like we got in contact with, we realized that this is really important to show just how wonderful the fan base of Community actually
Yeah,
is.
capture this.
And so like what was originally going to be a 5-minute behind the scenes of we're putting on an art show turned into like this academic study of like why Community is so awesome.
We started getting, we're film students, so of course we're like, oh, we have to get like a communicator, you have to get like a film studies major, a PhD, a doctorate, we have to talk about the meta quality of this documentary, we had a lot of ideas.
And it's just like everyone we asked to interview were completely down. And it's just like for 2 months, me and Evan basically got to spend our weekends going to people's houses and talking about Community for an hour to 2 hours.
And we got to meet a lot of our heroes too. Rob Schraub is like one of my absolute heroes. He did a comic book called Scud the Disposable Assassin. He was part of the Dead Alewives, and I mean, when I realized that he and Dan Harmon were the guy, do any of you remember that Dungeons and Dragons audio bit from Dr. Demento?
Magic
Okay.
Missile.
Yeah. I'm gonna cast Magic Missile. They were behind that, and as soon as I realized that I was gonna get to meet Rob Schraub, I kind of flipped out. So it was great. We got to meet our heroes. We got to meet people that we really admire in the business.
And one weekend we interviewed Megan Gans, Jim Mahfood, and Rob Schraub, and it was basically like we each got to meet someone who was sort of like shaping ourselves creatively. Like I love Jim Mahfood. I read Girl Scouts when I was 16. And I was just like trying so hard not to nerd out and being like, are you gonna do another spin-off? Can I see Tank Girl? Can I see Tank Girl sketches?
It was great to realize how many people who love Community are just the exact kind of nerds that we want to hang out around. Like, all of us are such pop culture junkies that like it all kind of comes into this big melting pot because of Community, because that's all there, and we always have something to talk about, it seems like. That was kind of the biggest thing that I noticed. Annie Zhang and Brittany, when did Annie and I come into contact with you? How did that occur, and how did you become interns on the documentary project?
Where did you come from?
Where are you from?
Origin story.
I go to school, I go to film school in San Francisco at SF State, and I came down to Los Angeles to do an internship at a production company, and I only did that 3 days a week, so the other 4 days of the week I was really bored. So I would sit around just on the internet, and then I think either a month or two before that I had actually backed the art show, because like, why not? And I kept getting updates from the Kickstarter, and they mentioned the documentary, and I was just like, well, I love this thing, I want to be in film, and I have 4 days where I don't do anything. So I need to be productive and contact these people and help them out. And so I ended up just contacting the Kickstarter, which I believe was you, and he put me in contact with Evan and Annie, and we met up at a coffee shop not too far from where you live.
We were in full swing of getting things going, so we probably came off as a little insane. We were just like, oh my god, we can do this, and we're gonna get these shots. We're talking to Rob Schraub next week, and we're talking to Megan. It's gonna be crazy. I'm glad Brittany stuck with us, because I think that we were jacked up on caffeine and probably gave her way too much information.
No, it was awesome because you guys were just like, oh yeah, you picked a great week to like come on, because this weekend we're interviewing Megan Gans, and I was just like, oh my god, she wrote my favorite episode. So that weekend we went and interviewed her, which was, as you know, you were talking about Jim being your hero, Megan's one of mine, and so that was really cool. And then getting to help them actually set up the art show, like hang up the physical art pieces, was really cool. And then the 2 days after that were awesome, and then staying up till 4 in the morning cleaning up.
I think it was because we stayed up all night. Like that's when you know you're like really friends with somebody. So I feel like I've known you forever.
You can't not
felt like forever.
You can't not be friends with somebody after you've worked with them for 12 hours at 4 in the morning, and you have doors opening at a big event with 400 people in 8 hours or something. Brittany's story is pretty similar to yours, isn't it, Annie, John? Because you contacted us, didn't you?
I actually joined the weekend after you interviewed Megan Gans, and it was really wrong because I thought her off when I love Megan. So, but
It's okay.
I mean, you got to talk to her yesterday, and she made you cry.
Do you want to?
I cried.
Do you want to dance home? So shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Keep talking. I love you.
My sister who made a lot of art for the art show. We were like talking to Mark and everything. So
She's back there, by the way.
no, she's not. She's not.
Sorry, that was yesterday.
Yeah, but I contacted Mark about the documentary because I was studying media production. I still am in Malibu, and so I really wanted to get involved in this because I have no experience in documentary filming or anything. So I basically joined it for the experience and because I love community. But then I don't know. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. I was so happy.
Sweet.
Yes, agreed. That one of the best of my life.
We'll do one last thing, and then if you have any questions, we can get to a Q&A. But I wanted to ask Julieta about being an artist and what were your impressions of the actual art show, the event, the day of, and your experience? Because if you ask any of us about it, we'll just be like, I don't know, man, we were tired. We were on energy drinks and whatever. So I remember plenty about it, but most of my memories come from the documentary. So what was it like, Julieta, being part of that?
Well, I'm gonna be perfectly honest and say that I expected it to be shitty.
Thanks.
And when I mean, no offense, but I have been to conventions and fun stuff, and they normally aren't all that professional. But the moment my friend Kate and we were walking in, and we saw the Dreamatorium, I think I started crying a little bit, and I peed a little.
It takes a strong woman to admit that.
Because it was just so wonderful and so beautiful, and you get to see a bunch of art. And the thing is, I mean, I'm not gonna say that. Oh yeah, I'm awesome. But for the longest time, I was the only community fan artist I knew. I would post my stuff on LiveJournal and on Twitter and then on Tumblr, and I didn't know any other fan artists, so I felt kind of alone and kind of like an only child, and like, oh, it's great because you have all the attention from your parents, in this case the cast, but it's also kind of lonely when your friends say no, I don't want to play. So when I started seeing like all these other people who were also obsessed with the show, it made me feel both a little bit more normal in that, oh look, I'm not the only crazy weirdo who is up until 6 in the morning trying to do something relevant to the episode that just aired. And just very proud, like, oh look, all these people are younger than me and better than me. I hate them, but they're so talented and great, and I'm really happy that the cast can feel the love that we feel for them, because as we all know, a certain network, peacocks, haven't been all that nice to them, and the fact that we can show them that, hey, we love you, to me it's very important for them to know it, that their work is important, that the fact that they stay up shooting until 4 in the morning because Chevy couldn't remember his lines, to me, it's a true story.
Is this going to become Chevy Bash Con?
No,
I
just want to be popular, okay? I just want to be
people that
popular.
have never met him have something to say about this guy.
Look, I just want to be popular like the writers and the people talking yesterday, so I'm gonna do what's gonna make me cool, okay? Also, he has Emmys, what does he care? Quoting Joel McHale.
He's never going to see this. He doesn't watch live streams.
Exactly. Chevy has no idea. Yeah, he doesn't know who we are, so it's okay.
But he will.
But yeah, come on, we're never gonna be that important. I'm sorry. So to me, it's very important that they get to know that we all love them, and that what they're doing is important, and that it's not meaningless, and that the ratings don't matter. I mean, I guess we're gonna have a panel later on My Whole Brain is Crying, so there's gonna be testimonials of people saying why they love the show, but I know that there's people who have been able to go through depression or divorce, or myself personally, really bad depression, because of the show and the love of the fandom and the love of the cast. So that's all that is. I think I forgot your question.
No, you make a good point. People love this show, and it gets them through. It has gotten people through hard times, and that was actually kind of a big theme we found. We didn't really put it in the documentary because we wanted to focus on the fan art and what it was important about that and why people loved the show. But a big theme, like more than half the people I think that we interviewed continuously said like, this got me through a really bad time. Like community was the thing that helped me over the hump, and it got me thinking positively again, and that was so powerful, especially for me because I started watching the show in season 3. Like the art show came up and I'd heard about Community, and I'm like, oh yeah. When I first saw it on season 1, I was like, this kind of looks like an Office ripoff. I kind of, put it off. And then this art show came up. Mark told me about it. I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And suddenly, I don't know. Yeah, like people just it opened my eyes. Really,
just every day, just have it on.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, it's a real positive thing that this show does, and it's something you hardly ever see out of network television. It's crazy to think that this got through. It bested through the mesh.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, like I'm one of those people where I was like in a really hard, low place in my life, and then I started watching the show and just became obsessed with it. Like I had watched it since the beginning and took like a break because like school was getting hard for me. And so it was after the Claymation episode that I started watching it again and just like fell in love, and my life became better after that. And I thought I was the only person that felt that way until until I met like physical human beings. Like it wasn't just the internet, like physical human beings that would come up to me, like after I told them, oh, your Abed shirt is cool, and they'd be like, okay, well, let me tell you the story. And it's just that, I think that's why I consider being a part of this group right here to be one of the best experiences of my life, because like I know I'm not alone, just like the show made me feel I wasn't alone.
I remember like shortly after, it's very quick, after the art show, I went back to Vancouver because I was a student there. And I remember tweeting at Brittany and at Annie, John, because that's the names I had. I was like, I don't know why, but I miss you. Like, I missed everybody that I met at the art show. Like, and I remember I also met Mary and Shannon. Shannon won. I just met Shannon.
Front row
and
fans.
what was I saying? Oh, sorry, very quickly. And, okay, you know what? I forgot what I was saying. It's okay. I'll remember.
Like, one of the most rewarding experiences also, like, at the art show, seeing people becoming friends who had never met each other, or seeing artists meet each other for the first time. And, like, I'm seeing it today where it's like, we're meeting people we've never met before, and we have this bond, and it's
It's
awesome.
like we've always known them.
Yeah, like, no, exactly. Like, those guys in the documentary who put to work, like Andrew and Mark, like, we're friends now. Like, we talk on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm 25, what am I doing talking to, like, these 21-year-old guys at the state.
Living in Oakland who are crazy enough to drive down for a rinky-dink art show.
But you build those connections, and it's part of like, this show's bringing people together, and everyone's accepted, and I'm just happy that I can be part of this fan community, and with awesome people like you guys, so.
And hey, we're all here in 4 walls again, so, let's keep this going. It's always good. Thank you for listening.